The galaxy was calm on the day it began. Trade ships moved through safe routes, colonies worked in peace, and space felt quiet. But in the far dark zone beyond Earth's borders, something new appeared. A fleet from the Zarion Empire entered human space without permission. Their leaders believed Earth was weak. They believed humans were slow and outdated. They believed the galaxy had moved beyond humanity. They were wrong. For many years, the Zarion Empire had heard old stories about Earth. Stories about wars humans fought long before the Empire was born. Stories about ships that disappeared into unknown sectors. Stories about weapons that no species wanted to see again. The Empire called these stories primitive myths. They laughed whenever someone repeated them. But the Zarion scouts did not laugh when they saw Earth's border beacons turn red. They did not expect a response. They expected silence, fear, or surrender. Instead, the beacons spoke in a cold, calm human voice. Unidentified fleet. You have crossed into protected space. Turn back now. The Zarion commander laughed and opened a galaxy-wide broadcast. His face appeared on every screen across human space, wearing a proud smile. Humans, he said loudly, your silence has made you soft. The galaxy no longer fears you. We claim this sector. Stand down. Billions watched the message. Some felt anger. Some felt fear. But human military officers simply exchanged quiet looks. They had seen this before. They knew what would happen next. At a hidden command center deep beneath Earth's surface, an old alarm glowed. A sound began to echo through the metal halls. Human commanders gathered around a round table. Their faces were calm, but their eyes held the weight of history. There was an old rule they all remembered, one passed from generation to generation. Never wake the Armada unless the threat is real. Earth had many fleets. Small fleets, peace fleets, explorer fleets. But there was one fleet that never left its vault. One fleet no human hoped to see again. One fleet built during a time of pure survival. The Silent Armada. For hundreds of years it remained hidden in deep space, asleep inside giant dark hangars that no outsider had ever found. It was powerful, dangerous, and designed to end wars quickly. Too quickly. Humans promised the galaxy they would never use it again. But today, that promise felt very far away. The Zarion broadcast continued. Earth is weak, the commander shouted. Earth is old. Earth is finished. You will surrender your colonies to us. His officers cheered. His fleet moved forward. In the command center, one human officer pressed a small silver key into a control slot. A second officer whispered, "Are you sure? Once we call them, there is no going back." The first officer nodded. They crossed the line. They ignored the warning. He turned the key. Far across the galaxy, in a silent dark zone where no star shined, something huge began to wake. Massive hangar doors opened slowly, shaking the dust of centuries into space. One by one, the impossible shapes of gigantic human warships came to life. Engines that had not burned in generations lit up with a deep purple glow. The Silent Armada was rising. Human satellites near the border detected movement. Screens filled with bright signals. Every console lit up. Every base received the same message. The Armada has awakened. Back in Zarion Command, the scouts panicked. Their sensors picked up strange readings, huge objects moving at unnatural speed. "Commander," a scout shouted. "Something is coming. Something big." The commander frowned. "How big?" The scout swallowed hard. "Too big." Before they could react, the stars behind them flickered. Black silhouettes blocked the light. The Zarion fleet turned to look. And they finally understood the truth. Myths were not just stories. Myths had names. Myths had engines. Myths had returned. The largest human dreadnought moved forward, its hull glowing with quiet power. No threats. No warnings. No emotion. Just silence. The Zerion commander stared in shock. What is that? A human voice replied through a private channel, steady and calm. This is your final warning. Turn back now. But it was already too late. They had provoked Earth. They had crossed the border. They had awakened what should have stayed buried. And the galaxy would never forget what came next. Silence filled the Zerion bridge. Not a single officer moved. Not a single breath felt normal. All eyes were locked on the massive shadow drifting in front of them. It was larger than anything they had ever seen, so large that even their scanners refused to measure it. The silent Armada. The ship's hull was old, dark, and covered in symbols from forgotten wars. It looked like a sleeping beast, slowly waking after centuries. Purple engines glowed like deep stormlight, humming with a power no modern technology matched. Every Zerion officer felt an instinct they never knew they had. They were prey. "Commander, it is not attacking," whispered the scout. His voice shook as he stared at the giant dreadnought. "Not yet," the commander muttered. Another huge shadow appeared behind the first. Then another. Then another. Within moments, 13 colossal human warships surrounded the Zerion fleet like giants watching insects. One officer collapsed to his knees. These ships should be impossible. This design, this power, it does not exist in any archive. "It does," another whispered. "Just not in ours." The Zerion leader tried to regain control. "Send a message to the Empire. Tell them." He stopped. Because suddenly, the human flagship opened a communication channel. The screen flickered, showing no face, no captain, no council. Only a black symbol glowing gently, the emblem of the old human defense corpus. A calm human voice spoke. "You ignored the warning. Do not force us to respond." The Zerion crew froze. The voice was controlled, steady, and without anger. That made it even worse. It meant humans were not emotional. They were not panicking. They were not struggling. They were doing what they always did. Holding back. But the Zerion commander refused to accept fear. "You cannot threaten us," he shouted at the screen. "Our empire has 1,000 ships. You have only a few relics from the past." The human voice paused. Relics built for a single purpose. A chill ran through the entire Zerion ship. The commander clenched his fists. Weapons locked. "Aim at the lead human ship." "But sir," an officer cried. "They have not fired yet." "I said aim." The Zerion ships obeyed. Hundreds of cannons lit up across their fleet. The space around them filled with glowing blue energy, preparing to launch a full strike. It was enough firepower to erase an entire moon. The human dreadnought did not move. Its engines remained quiet. Its weapons remained dark. Its silence remained terrifying. The commander shouted, "Fire on my mark." But before the order finished, the stars changed. A ripple spread across space, silent, invisible, but powerful enough to shake every Zerion ship. A soft pulse of gravity pushed against their hulls, bending sensors and twisting their readings. What was that? It came from the human ship. No weapons detected. How? The second pulse was stronger. The third pulse made small Zerion ships lose control. Lights flickered, screens glitched, alarms screamed. The Zerion commander grabbed the console to keep from falling. The human voice returned. "This is only the activation system. Stand down." The Zerion fleet stared in fear. Activation system? If this was only the warm-up, then what would happen when those ships actually fired? Another human ship moved into formation. Its size dwarfed every vessel in sight. It looked like a floating fortress from another age, ancient power wrapped in modern silence. Tiny glowing runes flashed on its hull, symbols no alien translator could decode. "Commander," yelled one of the Zarion scouts. "I am reading massive energy signatures. These levels are impossible. No species has this kind of power." The commander finally felt fear sink into his bones. But pride held him tight. "Charge all weapons," he shouted. "We will not bow to humans." His fleet obeyed, but he could hear the fear in their breaths. Meanwhile, inside the human flagship, officers monitored every reaction. They spoke quietly, without panic. "They are charging weapons," one said. "They do not understand what they are facing," another replied. The human captain simply nodded. "Prepare the Armada." Across the silent void, the ancient human ships awakened fully, one system at a time. Engines flared brighter. Metal plates shifted into combat form. The quiet hum turned into a deep roar. The Zarion fleet felt the space around them tighten. "What is happening?" "Gravity fields, strong ones. We cannot escape." The human voice returned one last time. "You have chosen war. We did not." And then the battlefield changed forever. The moment the human captain spoke, the battlefield transformed. The Zarion fleet felt a sudden drop in pressure, as if the very air inside their ships had been pulled tight. Space around them, once open and wide, now felt small, like a trap closing slowly. "Commander," shouted the helm officer. "The gravity fields are locking around us. We cannot move." The commander tried to stay calm, but sweat slid down his forehead. "Break free. Power the engines to maximum. We already have." "They are not responding." The massive human dreadnought moved just a little, only a tiny adjustment of its position. But even that small movement made the Zarion fleet drift back several meters. It felt like a planet had shifted. One of the oldest myths about humans whispered across the galaxy was simple. Do not fight them in close space. They bend the battlefield itself. The Zarion commander never believed it. But now he watched it happen with his own eyes. The human armada fully awakened. Every ship shimmered with purple energy. Old symbols glowed like rising stars. The silence around them felt heavier than noise. And then it began. A soft pulse, barely a sound. A ripple of gravity rolled across space, touching each Zarion ship gently, like a finger tapping metal. But when it touched them, hundreds of their weapons froze. What happened?" cried a gunner. "Our cannons are locking down. Shields failing. Weapons offline." The commander stared at his screens. "It is not an attack," he whispered. "It is control." The human ships were not firing. They were turning the Zarion fleet off. Across the void, the human flagship spoke again. The same calm voice, without anger or emotion. "Your weapons cannot damage us. Stand down." The commander felt rage rise inside him. "You cannot order us. We are the Zarion Empire. We do not kneel to extinct myths." He slammed his fist on the control panel. "Charge our fusion lances. They are not shut down yet. Sir, if we use those inside this gravity field." "Do it." Against every warning, the Zarion flagship prepared its most dangerous weapon. Blue light built up at the center of the ship. The energy grew brighter and brighter, shaking the hull. Inside the human flagship, officers watched quietly. "They are activating a fusion lance," one said. "Inside our gravity net?" another asked with disbelief. "That is suicide." The human captain nodded. "They will learn." The Zarion commander raised his hand dramatically. "Fire." But the weapon never launched. The moment the blue energy reached its peak, the human dreadnought made a tiny move, just a small shift of its gravity field. And the Zerion weapon folded in on itself. A blinding white flash filled the bridge. Alarms exploded. Smoke filled the air. The Zerion flagship lost half its weapon systems instantly. "Damage report," the commander screamed. But no one answered. Officers were dizzy. Screens were shattered. Half the bridge was dark. "Sir," one officer finally shouted. "Their gravity pulse, it crushed our energy stream. If we fire again, the ship will explode." The commander froze. The myths were true. Human ships did not simply fight. They reshaped the battlefield. At that moment, a second human ship moved forward. This one was sharper, faster, built for precision strikes. Its hull had no windows. No lights. Only dark plates that opened slowly, revealing rows of old weapons that glowed blue and purple. A whisper spread through the Zerion fleet. "That is the Cutter-class dreadnought. Those ships, they were banned by the Galaxy Council. No one has used those in 1,000 years." The Zerion commander felt cold fear for the first time. The human voice returned. "This was your choice." The Cutter-class ship fired, not a blast, not a missile. Just a thin beam of silent light. The beam passed through 3 Zerion ships without noise. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, all 3 ships shut down completely. Engines dead. Lights gone. Drifting like empty shells. They were not destroyed. They were simply ended. Zerion officers screamed in panic. "We cannot fight them. Our systems are useless. Commander, we must retreat." Retreat? The Empire had never retreated from anyone. But now, every Zerion heart shook with one truth. Humanity's myths were not stories. They were warnings. Warnings the Zerion Empire should have listened to. And now, the price for ignoring them had arrived. The Zerion commander stood frozen, staring at the drifting remains of his own ships. They were not burning. They were not destroyed. They were simply silent. The dreadnought's beam had taken their life without leaving a single scratch. It was the most terrifying sight any warrior could witness, a weapon that ended a fleet without showing violence. The bridge felt colder now. Officers no longer shouted. They whispered. Fear hung in the air like heavy dust. "Commander, we cannot win," one officer whispered with a trembling voice. The commander clenched his jaw. His pride fought with his fear. His mind told him the truth, but his heart refused to accept it. Another officer said, "They are not even using full power. If they wanted us gone, we would already be dust." That single sentence broke the last wall inside the commander's mind. Because it was true. The humans were not fighting. They were showing restraint. A terrible restraint. Across the void, the human cutter-class ship pulled back, returning to its formation. It did not need to fire again. Instead, the massive flagship, the oldest ship of the Armada, moved forward. Its engines grew brighter. Its armor shifted. Old runes glowed like waking spirits. And then, the human captain finally showed his face. A hologram appeared on the Zerion bridge. A calm human with steel-gray eyes, wearing a simple dark uniform. No medals. No crown. No sign of pride. His quiet expression carried more power than any weapon. He spoke softly. "Zerion fleet. This conflict is over. Your ships cannot fight. Your weapons cannot function. You will leave our territory now." The commander stepped forward, his voice cracking. You would spare us?" The human captain looked at him, calm and direct. "We do not destroy unless we must. Humanity does not seek war. But we end threats quickly. That is our way. The Zarion commander felt a sting of shame, something he had not felt in years. But why? Why not crush us completely? You clearly can. The human did not smile. He did not show victory. Because our greatest strength is not our weapons. It is our control. We choose peace when others choose conquest. The Zarion officers exchanged shocked looks. Humans, choosing peace, after awakening the most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever seen. It went against everything the Empire believed. The commander lowered his head. We made a mistake. The human nodded once. Yes. You believed legends were lies. He stepped closer in the hologram. You did not understand what those legends truly are. The commander whispered, "Tell me, what are they?" The human captain answered. "They are warnings." Silence fell again, heavy, absolute, final. The hologram faded, and the human flagship powered down its weapons. The gravity net vanished, freeing the Zarion ships. One by one, their engines returned to normal. Lights flickered back on. Movement returned. The Zarion fleet floated in shock. The commander took a slow breath and gave the most painful order of his life. Retreat. His officers obeyed without question. No pride remained. No false bravery. Only fear and respect. As the Zarion ships turned away, they saw something unforgettable. The silent Armada moved aside, opening a path. The human ships did not chase. They did not fire. They simply watched. Like guardians of something ancient. Something dangerous. Something sacred. As the Zarion fleet departed, one young officer whispered. "Commander, are humans truly this powerful?" The commander stared at the human formation, still, silent, patient. "No," he whispered. "They are something worse." "What?" He swallowed. "They are disciplined." The Zarion fleet left human space with heavy hearts and shaken minds. Their message to the Empire spread faster than light, reaching every world, every leader, every warrior. And the message was simple. Do not touch Earth. Do not test humanity. Do not awaken what sleeps in the dark. Across the galaxy, rulers debated. Scholars researched old records. Armies updated their strategies. Everyone tried to understand how Earth, ignored, underestimated, forgotten, held such impossible strength. Only a few understood the truth. Humanity did not need to prove power. Humans did not show their full force. Humans did not unleash destruction. Because they were saving that, for the day they truly had no choice. And that was the reason all species feared them. Not because of the weapons. Not because of the ships. Not because of the Armada. But because of the silence. A silence that carried the weight of old wars. A silence that hid power deeper than stars. A silence that told the galaxy. We do not start wars. But we end them. Humanity returned the silent Armada to its dark vault, where it would sleep again. And the galaxy breathed easier. Knowing the legends were real. And prayed they would never rise again.